I always prided myself on just being me and just trying to be a good person and have a good heart. And in the end, if people want my act, they can have it. And if they don't, that's cool too. Well, my grandfather played pro ball. He's a Hall of Fame basketball player. He was inducted in 1988 with Wes Unseld. So growing up in my family, if you didn't play hoops, you didn't do very well at the barbecues, you know? You didn't get any food. So it was all about teamwork. In fact, the one example I can give you, I got lucky and I stole the ball one time and I drove it in for the winning basket. So, you know, there's the adulation. Everyone on the sidelines is going crazy. The fans are happy. Everything is beautiful. And my father takes me to the side and he goes, "What was wrong with that play?" And I said, "Nothing, man. I got the ball. I made the shot. Your teammate was open underneath. It was your job to pass that ball and let him get the winning basket. The assist is better than the score. Don't forget that." And I never did. I was a teenage entrepreneur when I bought my first business. And if you walked to my store, you drove to my store, or you took public transportation, I saw you coming. And I knew everything about you. I knew your name. I knew your spouse's name. I knew your children. The little one has to do what the big one is either unwilling to do or structurally unable to do. So I just figured out what the big ones, my competitors on either side of my business, weren't doing. They weren't delivering to senior citizens. Senior citizens don't want to leave their house. We deliver. Blue-collar workers like my dad, they get paid on Friday night and they're flush rich. But they're broke by Sunday morning. We give them credit. So the idea is not just the customer. The focus has to be on the customer's customer and the customer's customer and their dreams. And when you can connect the value chain at a deep emotional level, you can change the world. Our house was on a canal, so every time there was a high tide, a storm, especially in Northeaster, the house flooded. So the day of my big interview at Xerox, there was 4.5 feet of water in the house. So I had my $99 suit from the mall. My brother picks me up on the 5th stair from the bottom so I wouldn't get my pants wet, and basically carries me out to the car. When my dad was in the street, as the tide was subsiding, he drove me to the Long Island Railroad. So we had a really nice ride to the railroad, and I told my father at the end, I guaranteed him I was coming home with my employee badge in my pocket. So I get into the hiring center, and there's gorgeous women and men like you, looking so professional and beautiful, and I started to really get a little bit nervous that I might have overshot it with my dad. So you get to that point where you got to figure out what's your play. Are you going to panic, or are you going to play to your strengths? I said, I talk to 500 people a day in the deli. I get to the final interview that day at 9 West 57th Street. I walk into the big boss's office. Very handsome, meticulous gentleman. I look over his shoulder at Central Park, and I realized I wasn't in a job interview. I was in a fight for my life. And you know what? We got to the end of the interview. It was a really good interview. And he said, "Bill, I want to thank you very much. It was an outstanding meeting. And the HR department's going to be in touch with you in the next couple of weeks." You ever hear that before? And I was like, "Well, Mr. Fullwood, I don't think you completely understand the situation, sir." And he like tilts his head. And I said, "You know, I haven't broken a promise to my dad in 21 years. And I guaranteed him I'm coming home tonight with my employee badge in my pocket." Silence. Tilts the head a little more. "Bill McDermott, as long as you haven't committed any crimes, you're hired." Vision is not just about what you see, but it's what you feel and how you make other people feel. You know what messes up companies? Management messes up companies. Lack of leadership, lack of vision, lack of strategy. I've always said that a leader owes a company a couple of things. One, you have to have a vision for where you want to go. And ours was to help the world run better and improve people's lives because we wanted to have a purpose-driven company. And if you think about the young generation today, they're not working for a paycheck. They're working for a cause. Also, we knew that the world was changing, that data would be the force multiplier, in fact, the new gold. We knew the cloud would be the pervasive computing theme of the 21st century, and we knew that over time, deep machine learning and artificial intelligence, with the Internet of Things upon us all, would start to reinvent companies and how they behaved, so the machines wouldn't replace the people. They would actually complement the people. Because when you're sleeping, you need the machines, those computers, to be working for you. So we put together a compelling strategy. No matter how good you are on your feet, without a vision and a strategy, it won't hold together for too long. I was staying at my brother's house, and I was kind of all alone. And I was walking down the stairs with a very large, thick glass, steep stairs, loafers with slippery bottoms, slipped. Next thing I knew, I was just in a real bad situation and alone. And I knew that it was a life-threatening situation. And I just remember, my mind telling me, stay down. It's okay. You just go to sleep now. You've done enough. And just feeling at that moment that you're on the line. And then I started to think, and my will had a different purpose for my life and said, think about your family. Think about your friends. Think about the 87,000 women and men that you're blessed enough to lead and that are truly my family too. And I just got to the point where I said, I got to find a way. And I found a way to get up, to somehow get out and get on with it. And basically crawled maybe 150 feet to the street and laid down in the street in hopes that somebody would see me or hear me. And when I was almost done, somebody did. And I wouldn't relive it or do it all over again if I could, because I found a higher purpose for my life. And that's the most important thing. Connecting with yourself at a deep emotional level and also with other people. So it's a true blessing. I've always looked at the biggest problems as the biggest opportunities, whether it's at the customer level or the world level. And as it relates to your own human DNA and your own identity, never forget where you came from. And the second you forget where you came from and you start taking yourself too seriously, you're on the way down. So a lot of people spend all their time thinking about the big meeting, the big pitch. The bigger meeting is when you have a sincere moment with the receptionist, and there's nothing to be gained by spending an extra moment asking her how the family's doing. You can get anything in this life you want if you help enough other people get what they want, and that's been my life cause.